What if quilting didn't have to be perfect to be meaningful or even fun? Today's guest is known for turning everyday sewing struggles into laugh out loud moments and somehow making you feel better about your own mistakes along the way. Tami Jones from Hometown Quilt Company is stitching together humor, heart, and a whole lot of real life quilting. And trust me, you're going to see yourself in this one. She's totally relatable. Today, I'll have a chat with Tami Jones. Hello and welcome to the Quilter on Fire podcast. I'm Brandy Maslowski, a former firefighter turned quilt professional. As a quilt teacher, speaker, and judge, I travel the globe to bring quilters more joy and less overwhelm. Not too long ago, the quilty life I now lead was just a dream. After many lessons and a lot of hard work, I've transitioned from juggling a day job and a quilting business on the side to becoming a full-time quiltpreneur. I started the Quilter on Fire podcast to create a vibrant community of quilters, artists, and makers. Each episode brings you inspiring stories, insights, and the pure joy of guests from all over the world. If their stories uplift you and spark joy, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and ignite that creative fire within you. Today, I'm chatting with Tami Jones, the creative force behind Hometown Quilt Company, and someone who has built a huge following simply by being real. Tami has this incredible gift for taking the ups and downs of quilting, the bobbin drama, the wonky seams, the moments we all quietly struggle with, and turning them into something we can laugh about and learn from. Her content has reached hundreds of thousands of makers because it feels honest, relatable, and refreshingly human. What I love about Tami is that she doesn't just teach technique, she teaches mindset. Whether she really means to or not, Tami is bursting online with creativity, with courage, curiosity, and permission to not get it perfect every time. So let's explore the story of Tami Jones. Tami, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brandy.
So nice to have you here. I met you at QuiltCon, and that was so much fun. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what a bundle of joy it was to meet you at QuiltCon. I mean, I was having so much fun with you in the booth. Was that your first time?
It was my first time.
Wow.
But let me say, I'm not sure I can live up to the intro.
You are living up to the intro. Every single day, every single moment online, you live up to that intro. Believe me, I've gone down the rabbit hole. I've had so much fun looking at all your content, and it is 100% pure joy. So let's take a look back at the beginning here. Where did you get started? When do you first remember putting stitch to fabric?
So I was 13, and my grandmother meant it was time for me to learn how to sew. She didn't ask me if I wanted to learn. She told me it was time. Now, I was a huge tomboy, had no interest in it. I did not take home ec in high school. I would rather roll around in the mud, ride four-wheelers than be inside. But I went with her to our local dollar store because we didn't have a fabric store or a quilt shop. And she let me pick out the fabric and the pattern, and we fought our way through that dress. Aww. It was not her best life or mine. It was a miserable experience across the board. Well, fast forward, when I was 22, I was young, married, broke. Was pregnant with my first little fella. He's 23 now, and I wanted all the things, but I couldn't afford all the things. So I called my grandma and I said, Grandma, can you teach me how to sew? And she said, we've been down that road. Oh. I said, I promise it will be different this time. And so I was 22 then, and she died when I was 38. So when we started, there was no internet. This was probably 2000. Well, the big baby was born in 2002. And so the internet was very new, and you only had access to what you had access to the knowledge of the people around you, or books, magazines. And so she and I learned a lot. And then as the internet came along, she taught me a lot. And as the internet came along, we learned a lot together. Yeah. So it was a super fun journey. And when people started asking me if I would teach sewing, I wasn't even sure that my grandmother called things what they were actually called, right? Because She was born poor. She died poor. Her mother died when she was 13. She had 4 kids. She sewed out of necessity. Not saying that she didn't enjoy it, but she did it because she had to. And so I bought a bunch of curriculum, and it turns out my grandma was a pretty smart lady.
Oh, so she had a really big creative impact on you early on. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about some of the earliest things you made with her, like that you were trying to make?
So I was trying to make, this was back in the days of bumper pads and crib bedding. And bumper pads aren't a thing anymore. Fast forward 20 years, I then had a set of twins, so I know this. But when I was young, they were a thing. And I wanted John Deere tractor bumper pads for this little boy's room. And so that's what she helped me make. And she was not a quilter. I didn't grow up with quilts. And I did not go to college. I went straight out of high school, went to work for my local newspaper. Well, the editor of the newspaper, her mother, I was taking something to her mother, and I walked in the house, and she was working on a bonnet girl quilt, the little Dutch doll bonnet girl, sunbonnet Sue.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, I was jealous to my bones. It was so beautiful. And I thought, I would wish that that was mine. Well, then when the little fella got a little older, I had saved all of his clothes, everything that the child had ever worn. And I had all these clothes, and I wanted to make a quilt. And I said, Grandma, do you think we can make a quilt out of this? And she said, well, I don't see why not. And it looks as good as any first quilt could ever look. But it was her first quilt and my first quilt. And it now is still mine, and it belongs to him. And maybe he can have it when I die someday, but forever it will live in my house. And it's thin, and it has been worn and worn and worn. I took it back I finished it. I was so proud of it. And I drug it back down to Miss Lovey's. And this is the lady that was making the bonnet girl quilt. And I was very proudly showing her this quilt that I made. And I said, I'm going to fold it up and put it in the top of his closet so that when he grows up, he'll have it. And she said, you let that baby drag it through the mud if that's what he wants to do. Yeah. If he doesn't use it, it won't be special to him. And so that's what we did. We carried it to ball games and road trips and family vacations and Cub Scout campouts. And it has lived all of the things with him.
Oh.
So.
Okay, so I want to hear more about your life story. So tell us a little bit about, from your youth, did you go into education? Did you go into a career? Did you go into being a mama right away? What was your path to quilting?
Okay, so I went straight to work out of high school, went to work at our local newspaper, and I worked there for 17 years.
Wow.
The big baby's 23 now, but he has Asperger's. He's level 1 on the autism scale. You wouldn't know it if you didn't know it, but after you know, it's so obvious. Everything's black and white. He is incredibly bright. He is the knower of all random facts. And he came in, and he was a junior in high school, and he said, Mom, if I make a 30 on my ACT, will you take me to Europe? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, because he ain't making a 30. I mean, he's obviously not making a 30. But how do you tell him no, right? Mm-hmm. So a few weeks later, he comes in wagging his 30 that he's made on this ACT. Yes. And so I always said, whenever I write a book, the title of it's going to be, well, what am I going to do now? And I said, well, what am I going to do now? So I started teaching classes at night to students to pay for this trip to Europe. And that was the fall of 2018. So I booked it the fall of 2019. I worked during the day and then taught sewing classes at night, paid for this trip that he and I went on in November of 2019. And then, what the beginning of 2020 was, right? Mm-hmm. COVID. Yeah. And I know that I booked it in the fall because I did it the week of Thanksgiving. I knew he would be out of school for a week, and so he wouldn't miss so many days. And it was not lost on me during COVID that trip almost never happened for us. Mm-hmm. So just the two of us went. We went to London and then Rome and then Paris. We had the most amazing time, and it is something I'll remember forever for sure. And he doesn't realize what his contribution to this journey was, because I would have never taught at night. I mean, I had a full-time job, and so then 2020 COVID hits, and I said, well, I'll post a mask online, right? On Etsy. I had never sold a single thing on Etsy. And if I sell one, fine. If I don't, fine. I hadn't lost anything. And I posted the mask and woke up the next morning to 5,000 orders.
Oh my gosh.
So I was hitting my husband. I was like, get up, get up, get up. He was like, what is it? What is it? And I said, well, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do now? So I had been teaching now for a little over a year. I called every person who had ever been in a sewing class, and we made masks. It allowed me to be able to come home.
Yeah.
And to sew. And I said, Timothy, I think I'm going to come home and sew full time. And I might have to hem pants. I hope I don't have to, but I might. And if I do, that's okay. And so far, Brandy, I haven't had to hem anybody's pants, my husband's included.
Oh, that is so really you were doing something that you love to try to make some extra money to have this trip happen for your son. And it kind of blossomed into like, oh my gosh, let's help people during the pandemic. And what was kind of the turning point where you kind of thought, okay, we've got these thousands of orders. Can this actually be a business?
Well, I was making them, and not only was I making the masks that I was filling these orders, but I was also spearheading a pickup drop-off location in our small town. And I had somebody had died, and their daughter gave me a whole bunch of fabric. So I cut the fabric into mask sizes, and I dropped fabric and elastic off in a bin in Ziploc bags of 20. Random people came by, picked up a Ziploc bag, took it home. They came by and dropped the bag of finished masks off. And then all of the local people who were traveling to work, hospitals, nursing homes, wherever they were going, were encouraged to come by and pick up whatever was there. So they went wherever they were needed, a whole bunch of different places by a whole bunch of different people. And it was super nice to be able to see the community come together for that.
Yeah.
And I had been wanting to come home, obviously, for some time. I wanted to do what I loved all day, every day. I mean, can you imagine anything any better?
No.
And it just didn't financially make sense. And that turned the page for me.
So you had a taste of success with the masks. And not only that, you did the whole, okay, community is really important to me. Let's get people together to all do this. But then when you were moving from there, making this transition into, can I do this full time? You must have known in the back of your head, okay, we're not going to be making masks forever. So what was the next step? What else did you start doing after that to try to make this a sustainable business?
So I had just been teaching classes at night because I was working full time. And so I started teaching daytime classes. So I started teaching daytime classes, and my classes are 4 months long. You come for 3 months, and at the end of the third month, you leave your quilt top with me. When you come back the fourth month, it's quilted. You do your binding and you take home a finished quilt. And so, but my people never leave. Like they come and they just stay for years and years and years. It is the best ever. Well, I had this group of ladies who wanted to do this super intricate quilt. And I said, y'all, you are not going to finish that once a month. We're going to be here for the next 10 years. So we decided to meet once a week. And they're still with me. That's my Tuesday ladies. And if you know, I have a group of ladies that sew with me every single Tuesday, and they heckle me. They keep me grounded. They encourage me. They are my mirror in so many ways because they are real people. And so I know that anything they say to me is out of love. So they can say things to me that other people probably would have a more difficult time, or I would have a difficult time hearing the same thing that somebody else said to me. But when it comes from them, I know where it's coming from.
Yeah. So good. So we are going to get later in the podcast, we're going to get right into all of the online craziness that's been happening for you over the last couple of years. But I want to sort of know what keeps you going. Like, what is your jam in quilting?
So I just love to create, and I don't mind cutting the fabric. I don't mind sewing the fabric. I don't really like the quilting process, which is hilarious, but I just don't. And, but just being able to touch all the beautiful things. I can remember when I could not dream of the need or the ability to purchase an entire bolt of fabric.
Yeah.
And all of these students that came through here gave me more than I ever was able to give them. They gave me freedom. They gave me encouragement. I got to see the excitement in their eyes when they finished something. And it brought me so much internal joy. So there was a lady that came with her two sister-in-laws. Two sisters that came, and they strong-armed their sister-in-law into coming, right? to a quilt class. Well, they came and poor old Miss Sherry, she did not, it was not her jam. She didn't love it. She would rather be on the tractor or the lawnmower. It was the springtime. She'd rather be in her flower beds. I just don't love this. It's just not my thing. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. And at the last class, she finished binding her quilt and she stood up and she looked down at her quilt and she looked at me and she said, Tammy, I made this. And I said, yes, you did. And 3 years later, she was still with me.
Oh,
yes. And so they came and they created, and I saw how much joy it brought them. And then the community that they built, because when you come to a class, you sign up for 4 months, then you're with the same group of ladies. Some of these ladies have been together years now.
Mm-hmm.
In one class, I have a mother, grandmother, a daughter-in-law, and a granddaughter, 3 generations. And now the daughter has had a brand new baby, Callie Ann. And so Callie Ann comes too. So there's 4 generations in one class. It is adorable.
Oh, so sweet. Well, and I love the part of the story where humility is really important to you. And so like you appreciate that when you're surrounded by these amazing students who teach you more than you teach them sometimes, they're keeping you grounded. That's such a big part of the story because you're so real on all of your socials. You're like, well, I messed this up. And, you're just really real and you just tell the truth and you're like, well, I've got to start again, or, well, let's just cut it and change it or whatever. Right. So I love that part. Okay. So we're going to take a moment out of the story right now. And I want to ask you, where are you living now and who are your loved ones that you share your world with every day?
Oh, so after the big baby graduated in 2020, he moved out that summer, and I did not empty nest well. I cried every single day, every day. It was like I was untethered. I'm so sympathetic to anyone that is empty nesting. And in October, I said, Timothy, I want to have a baby. And he was like, okay. So in December, we found out we were pregnant. And in January, we found out they were twins.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have a 23-year-old. He was 19 when they were born, a 23-year-old now, and a set of 4.5, and the half is important, year old twin girls.
Oh, and what are their names?
Olive and Olivia.
Oh, how sweet. Well, that must be a whole lot of new joy in the household.
It is. I was pretty scared of them. I'm still kind of scared of them.
Oh, it's just all that joy times 2, right?
Yes. Aww. And sass. And they have opinions and they know what they want. And poor Olive this morning, she was not satisfied because she wanted a waffle for breakfast, not a pancake.
Oh, big difference, Mama.
Right?
Okay. So where in the world are you guys living?
We live in southern Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
I am in Tylertown, Mississippi. I'm about 2 hours north of New Orleans and about 2 hours south of Jackson.
Oh, and your husband, I saw a really fun video online where you forced your husband to go get flamingos for you. And he was so cute in the story. He's like, my wife is a sewing influencer. It was so adorable.
Brandy, can I show you something right quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because this is important.
Oh,
can you see that?
Yeah, so cute.
So that's Big Brother and the 2 little ladies when they were born.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
Yes. Wow. Because I know there's this picture of me and my husband and the 2 girls behind me, and I want the audience to know that the big baby lives in here also.
Oh, how sweet.
So I got this big influx of requests for porch goose clothing. And you know what a porch goose is, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, I was like, we can't do a porch goose. We have to have something way cooler than a porch goose, right? So then I'm like on the search for flamingos. Well, somebody sends me a photo of the flamingo at Hobby Lobby. So I called my husband. My husband's an attorney. He is a prosecutor. He works for the great state of Mississippi, putting all the bad guys away. He tells the little ladies he puts grown-ups in timeout. And so I texted him and I said, can you run by Hobby Lobby and get 2 flamingos? And he said, yeah. And I said, bonus points if you can get somebody to film you. When he sent me
a stranger?
Well, no. So he sends me all this footage and it's like different angles and all the things. And I was way impressed. So I called him and I said, who did this? And he said, to another attorney. and the investigator from his office, they went to lunch and then went by Hobby Lobby. So now imagine these guys in suits filming this other guy who's carrying these flamingos. I can only, in my mind, the image is pretty good.
Oh, it's something like right out of the Men in Black movie. Like they're all
Yes.
in suits. That's hilarious. Oh, that is so sweet that he would do that for you. I think if I asked my husband to do something like that, his eyes would glaze over and he would run in the other direction.
Honey, did you say something? I didn't hear you.
He'd be like, "Are you talking about quilting to me? What is happening?"
Right?
Oh, that is so wonderful. Well, it's nice to know where you are in the world. And when I talk about design on the podcast, we have so much fun. So I want to talk about design with you with regards to the things that you bring to your online community. So when you see something in the world that sparks an idea, how do you capture that? Like, do you go into all kinds of journals, or do you go digital and do things online? Or do you just think, I love that project, my audience needs to see that, and I'm just going to try it?
So a little bit of all the things. I love to write my projects down. Not a great drawer. I do like some graph paper, though. That's very good.
Yeah.
I do a lot digitally, which is interesting because how many photos do you have on your phone, Brandy? 60,000?
37,000.
Okay. You know, I have 17, literally on my phone. So I post it and I print it. I'm a photo printer and I delete it.
Oh.
And so if it's in my camera roll, it's something that needs to be taken care of. So if I see something somewhere, I will snap a photo of it or take a screenshot of it. So, let me tell you this great story. I'm at a retreat 2 weeks ago, and there's this tiny little lady, and her name is Miss Mary, and she's so sweet. And the end of the first day, I said, Miss Mary, are you always this quiet? And she said, I'm just really shy. And she bloomed over the course of the next few days, but she and I talked and chatted and chatted and chatted. And she was from Florida, and Dad was in the military, and he served a few tours overseas. He was a photographer. He photographed the war. And I said, Miss Mary, you must have the most amazing photos of when you were a little girl. She's 76. And I was envious of what she must have because, so many people don't have that. Well, it's the last day, and we're kind of saying our goodbyes. And I'm sitting in front of Miss Mary's sewing station, and she said something about Dad being in the military. And I said, well, that means you moved around a lot. And she said, well, no, not really. And she started naming the places they lived. And she said, and we spent 4 years in DC. I said, what were you doing in DC? And she said, Dad was Eisenhower's photographer. I'm like, you've been sitting here all these days with this. And I almost didn't know that. Like, she almost left, and I never found that out. And so it makes me think about, you said we were talking about photographs, which is what made me think about it. But think about all of these people that are walking next to us that have such a story that you don't even have any idea about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. You never know someone's story. And that's even true for if someone is being miserable with you. You have to be empathetic with them because you never know their story. Like they might be mean to you, but it's because something's going on with them, right? So,
yes.
So let's go back to the photos because, I mean, what did you say? You have 17 photos on your phone and that is all, like 17, like that is all? And you just deal with everything? That is impressive.
Isn't that hilarious? If it's on my phone, it's because I need to deal with it. But I'm a photo printer, and that's the conversation we were having. And Miss Mary was saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with the hundreds of thousands of photos I have that my dad took. And I mean, and that wasn't even the Eisenhower conversation. That was like a few days before, but I knew he was a photographer. And then when she started saying, but I'm a photo printer. And so my poor children are going to have a lot to deal with.
Oh, well, and I bet all those photos she has could be in a museum somewhere, probably.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So what do you think it is that really resonates with the beautiful community that watches you on all of the different social media and YouTube and everything?
I'm funny.
Yeah, you are funny. You are funny, but I'm just going to tell you, you're real too. So that needs to be part of your answer. Okay, so I want to chat a little bit more about design because you have such a beautiful grasp of color. You use color in so many wonderful ways. So how do you decide color? Where do you pull your color inspiration from?
So I think it's true, or it was definitely true for me. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I don't have an art background and I used what I had. And my grandmother said, this is what you have to pick from. What are
Yeah.
we making? And this is how you can do it, right? And so as I had the ability to be able to purchase fabric or choose something to use, it was kind of scary. It was really scary, actually, because I didn't trust my own judgment. I was like, I mean, I like that, but do I really like it?
Yeah.
Is it going to look good when it's finished? And I've come to appreciate that so many of the minute details that we focus on really don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, a shade of burgundy is a shade of burgundy,
Yeah.
and you don't have to narrow it down to this half or quarter of a shade. It's just it's not that serious, not to me anyway.
Yeah.
And I think because I don't take it so seriously, it has allowed me to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Oh, so true. So what's in the business name? It's Hometown Quilt Company. How did you come up with that?
So I first Googled a whole bunch of website names. I needed to find a website name that was available. And so I put it to a Facebook vote.
Oh, it's a good idea.
And so my friends overwhelmingly voted Hometown Quilt Company because it sounded so much more professional and bigger and whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was super fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. So tell me what you bring to the world with your business now in a nutshell.
Well, accessibility, I think that people
Mhm.
can sew and you can dig your grandma's sewing machine out of your aunt's closet that's dusty and dusted off and sew, that you can pick up a sewing machine off of the shelf at Walmart and sew. You don't have to have the latest and greatest. You don't have to have the most expensive. You don't have to have whatever the newest is. And I always say, buy the best you can afford.
Mhm.
That's what I've always done. And I've not always been able to afford the best.
Yeah.
And I just always bought the best I could afford. And sometimes that meant not buying anything, it meant using what I had.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a very big part of it because people are intimidated
Mhm.
by what if my seams don't match? And I'm like, take your gift back. Tell them you're not my people. Snatch it back and give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because the people that you love don't care.
Mhm.
They just want something that you created.
Yeah. So true.
Can we talk about how I ended up on the socials?
Yes, sure. Absolutely. Let's go there.
All right. My best friend, Crystal, kept sending me these TikToks. And I don't know if you have TikTok, all of you out there that are watching or listening right now. If you don't have it, it is the most entertaining platform on the planet. It's hilarious. And the algorithm is very intuitive, and you just find yourself on there watching all of the incredible things. And I'm like, why am I watching somebody mop their floor? But I was watching it. Just so she kept sending me these TikToks. Well, I would not download TikTok because I had a full-time job and I had a set of twins at home, and I just didn't have the 7 years to go down the rabbit hole. Well, finally, I downloaded it in September of 2024. And I called her and I was like, these are real people. These are just real people. And she said, I told you would love it. And I said, it's incredible. And so I'm watching these videos and I'm talking to my husband about it. And I was videoing the little lady some. And he said, are you going to post some of what you do on TikTok? And I said, it's not that interesting, Timothy. Nobody cares. And then I thought, we'll see. So I made a video and I liked watching it. So then I was making them and watching them myself. I had like 3 whole followers. And then people started to watch them. And then more people started to watch them. And I went from 3,000 to 13,000 to 30,000 to 100,000. And I posted the first video September of 2024. And I ended the year with 100,000 followers. It was wild. It was wild, wild. And so now we're in 2026. So then over the course of 2025, it has just grown. And the people who press that follow button, Brandy, do you think about somebody is watching this and saying, I like that so much, I want more of that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible to me. It's hard to believe, like, is somebody actually listening to this podcast while they're on a walk? I feel that
Right?
way too. It's just astonishing to me. Really is.
Yes. And it's
And
such an honor to think that somebody would spend their time, their dollars, their energy,
yeah.
and to pour into us.
Yeah. And every once in a while, I run into somebody, like I'm sure you do, who says, "Oh, I love your podcast." And it is the most heartwarming thing. And I say, "Thank you so much for listening." And they're like, "No, you don't understand. I've listened to every episode." And I'm like, "What?" Like there's like more than 250 episodes. I can't comprehend that somebody wants to spend that time with me because I'm just here in my basement like anyone else trying to share the story and be a kind person and just do what I love, right? So I totally understand what
Yes.
you're saying when it comes to, wow, is somebody really watching what I did? I love it.
Yes. And I'm like, Timothy, husband, I told y'all I told you people want to listen to me. You should listen to me too.
Yeah. Turn the tables. Yeah. Another
Right?
thing that's really fun is you do things consistently that are comforting for people to hear. Like you say, "I'm your favorite sewing teacher." And like again and again at the end of all the different things. So why is that important to you? And why is it kind of something that really works, do you think?
Well, so my sweet husband, who I kind of think hung the moon, I believe he knows all the things. He's the smartest man I've ever met, blah, 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 blah. He is incredible. He is like literally a seventh generation or eighth generation or something ridiculous from the county that we live in. So he's related to every person we run into is his cousin, right?
Yeah.
Well, I am a transplant. I was actually born in Illinois. And my family moved here when I was 2 months old. So it's all I've ever known, but I do not have any blood relatives here, which is probably the reason he and I could get married. But he, at every restaurant we've ever gone to, and he runs into somebody and he says, "Who's your favorite cousin?" Yes, which he learned from his dad, who says it too. He opens his mouth and his dad falls out. They are incredible. And so I thought that's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
So when I started doing this, I was like, I'm going to claim it too. He says, "I'm your favorite cousin." And I say, "I'm your favorite sewing teacher."
Oh, I love that. And it's true. And it's true. People are listening and watching, and they're just like, "Oh, yeah, she's not wrong." Not
Listen,
wrong.
very early on, somebody commented, "No, you're not." Well,
You will be. You got to reply saying, "You will be soon."
Right?
That is so great. Okay, so let's just mention the website right now. It's hometownquiltcompany.com. So if we take a look over at your website, what kind of things will we find there?
So there's lots of written patterns. There are lots of applique templates that you download to a regular printer, print out on regular paper, cut them out, and use them to make all of the creations. There are tons of other patterns. There's a backpack pattern and a frog stuffy. I'm not even sure what else there, but patterns, templates, and some pre-cut quilt kits.
Oh, fun.
And so there is a page that's the free cutting guide, and it says free cutting guide, but actually it's a free printable library that has all kinds of fun stuff in there too.
Oh, that's kind of cool. And you also have this fabulous line of t-shirts. So tell me how that came about.
Aren't they hilarious?
They're so fun.
Well, I feel like funny equals comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just comfortable to people. And I make fun of myself. And I was telling them at the retreat last week at Missouri Star that what they were, the retreat attendees were saying, "Tami, it's so refreshing to get to meet you because you're exactly who we thought you would be." And I said, "That is the best compliment." And they said, "Well, you're the same person we see every day." And I said, "Well, what you see is a product of being loved well. My husband and my family loves me so well that they let me be me, flaws and all." And because I often talk about in my videos that I am naturally messy. My husband is naturally very neat. I'm naturally a disaster, and he is all put together. There was a paper on the counter, and he said, "Tami, do you want me to fill this paper out?" And I said, No. It's something for the school, but they need a copy of my driver's license, and I have to find it before I can fill it out. And he said, "Do you want to just use mine?" And I said, "Do you know where yours is?" He said, "Yes, Tami, I know where my driver's license is. Everybody on the planet does except you." And I was like, "Oh, well, if you don't mind."
You're two peas in a pod, like you're opposites attract. You're perfect
Yes.
for each other.
Yes. My sister-in-law called wanting some information, and I said, you have the wrong department. This is the imagination department. You need to dial this number for the real life department. And so I think that funny equals comfort, and I don't have any trouble making fun of myself because I make the same mistakes that everybody else does. Even if they're not telling you they do, they do.
Yeah.
And I found teaching, and I'm so good, I think, at teaching beginners just because I teach people in real life. And so when I say turn your fabric over, start sewing from right here and sew down, there's not a lot of steps left out because sometimes we assume people know things they don't know.
Yeah.
And I try to answer the questions that my students ask me when I'm making the video that I know they would ask me if they were there in real life.
Yeah. And I love that. Like, I think I saw one recently where you were putting together just little 4-patch squares, or it's actually strips of squares. And you were like, my corners don't line up perfect. I'm okay with that. It's all right. I don't mind, so it's really achievable for people. It's like, I'm trying this for the first time. It does not have to be quilt show entry worthy or anything like that. It can be a quilt for my family, for something that's just, it's done. That's better, right? It's better to get it done than have it perfect.
I have so much admiration and respect for the people who love the tiny pieces. And I teach those people too. I mean, I have those in my classroom, the people who love the tiny pieces, the people that are going to rip it out until the seam matches up perfectly, the people who love to hand sew. And when I say on a video, you go sew your hole shut and I'm going to sew mine shut, that is not true. I'm not sewing it shut. My hand stitching looks like I hate to hand sew. And so I have all the whole gamut, and I have so much respect for the people with the tiny pieces, but it's just not what I love.
Yeah.
And some people do love that. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for all of it,
Absolutely. So all kinds of wonderful things on the website, including an about page and retreats. But we're going to talk about retreats a little bit later in the podcast. Community is something you really care about. So tell me why that's so important to you.
So teaching sewing on the internet is very intimidating, super intimidating. And I posted a few videos and a few people watched it, and then more people started to watch it. And then people started to critique me, to tell me all of the things that I was doing wrong. And I knew I was breaking the rules. Okay. I knew that I was breaking the rules. I knew that I was teaching people in real life breaking the rules, but it's what worked for me. And I was very taken aback, I guess, and not necessarily offended, but I really wasn't sure how to handle it because enough people had watched it that I had gotten so much positive that I knew that everybody wasn't the quilt police. Everybody wasn't going to yell at me. Everybody wasn't going to say, you're doing it the wrong way, that there was a lot of people out there that sewed like me. And so then that's when I started to say, because my grandma said so. Why do I do it this way? Because my grandma said so. My grandmother told me I had to backstitch or my stuff would fall apart. So that's why I do it this way. And who knew that binding would be so controversial? It is interesting how controversial quilt binding is, people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not the boss of you. I don't get to decide how you do it. I'm just showing you what I do, but I want you to do it any way that you want to. Yeah. And so this crowd of people came out who sewed just like me, or who said, I went to a quilt class one time and the teacher kept pulling my project apart and I left there crying and said I would never sew again. Or I made something and the teacher told me that it was not good enough. And I thought, I would be devastated. I would have been devastated if my grandmother had said this is not good enough, because it was the best I could do. Was it great? No. And anybody who says their first project was great is lying. And so when these people started to come out and I started to appreciate that there was a whole lot of people out there who sewed just like I did, who just wanted joy, who just wanted to have a good time, who wanted to make something cute for their neighbors or their classroom or their kid or their grandkid. And it really didn't have to be perfect. And it didn't have to be with whatever the latest and greatest tools were. Then, I found my people. Like, I found my people. And it is so incredible because they don't realize what they have given me. They just don't get it. They do not know what they've given me and what their encouragement means to me and what their projects that they show, the things that I've shown them make that they've sent back in, they've made themselves. And Brandy, I don't care how smart you think I am. I don't care how good you think I can sew. What I care about is, do you think you can make this if I turn around and leave the room? Like, can you make it whenever I'm not here? Can you make it from this tutorial? Did my instructions explain it clear enough that you could do that? Because that's what's important.
It's a really strong statement to the quilt police, because if they're saying something mean or harsh, it really doesn't matter, because the 700,000 people on Facebook that are following Tami Jones are there because you're teaching them something, and because they feel like they belong, and because they feel like they can do it and they can relate to you, right? So that's a strong statement to the quilt police that, yeah, if you're going to be mean or harsh and you think everything must be perfect all the time, sometimes that opinion doesn't matter.
Well, and if that's how you want it, that is exactly how I want you to do it.
Yeah.
But don't critique me and I won't critique you. And that's what I tell my students at these retreats. They're like, well, don't. And I said, you don't look too closely at my stitches and I won't look too closely at yours. How about that for a deal? Yeah. And they're like, deal. Because I don't want anybody looking at my stuff that closely. We're all proud of what we made. We're all excited to show off what we've made. And for anybody to take that joy from somebody is so sad to me.
Yeah, the realness of it all is important, and you want to have community, right? The followers, the community, the audience, it's all important. Okay, so you've done some fun things when it comes to travel recently. You went to QuiltCon and it was kind of insane. Tell me about that.
So everywhere. Okay, well, first let me say, I'm just a regular person in my real life. I'm a mom. I'm running a business. I live in a teeny tiny town, and I go to the grocery store and they do not act like I'm anybody. They just talk to me because they're my second grade school teacher, right? Yeah. And so I go to QuiltCon and I'm told there was 29,000 people there. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. And everywhere I stopped, like this impromptu line formed behind me. And I had taken Regina is my new assistant. You met her. This was her first trip with me. Now, Regina's been helping me with some of the Facebook stuff. So she had kind of a general idea. But so we go to QuiltCon and there's these lines forming and I'm meeting all these people. And my husband said, what does Regina say about all of it? And I was like, she's not saying anything, like nothing, like it's totally normal. It's not normal. It's bizarre what is happening, because I'm so honored to be able to put faces to names and to be able to meet these people in real life, to see their projects that they've made. Everybody pulls out their phone, which same, me too. I want to show you what I've made. And so we leave there. We're there for the few days and it was crazy fun. It was so fun. So fun. I met so many new faces. We had the best time, got home. We pulled in the driveway and get all of Regina's stuff out. And I said, okay, I'll see you next week. And she turned around with tears in her eyes and she said, Tami. And I was like, who are you? Because I don't know this person. And she said, I turned around and I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. And I said, yes. And she said, thank you for taking me with you. I know you could have chosen anybody and you chose me.
Oh,
yes. So then I don't say anything. And I was like, you're welcome. And I get in the car and I'm all like, totally, I don't even know what to do, because this was so foreign. And so I texted her and I was like, I don't know why you were just weird, but I'm glad you went with me too. And it's a huge joke now. And she said, I can only be sentimental like once a year. And it was hilarious. And she had the absolute best time. She said, Tami, that was bizarre. It was absolutely the craziest thing I have ever seen. And I said, I'm glad that you can't explain to somebody what it is. You have to be in it to understand. And I'm glad that she got to experience it, because it's so much fun. It's so much fun to meet the people and hear the stories and let them talk to you about. One lady was telling me her granddaughter says, because Mimi said so. All the things. It's so fun to see the ladies walking around in my super cute t-shirts that have all the fun sayings. And it's super fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into some of the things you love to teach on YouTube and Instagram and things like that. So just tell us about some of the things you bring to the table.
So I love all the things, really. I love really like craft sewing, I guess, is probably my favorite. I do love to make quilts, but I love to make things for my little ladies, bags or costumes. I love to make holiday decor. Because I have the attention span of a squirrel, and I don't think about Easter until it's Easter. I don't think about July the 4th until I'm like, oh, today's July the 3rd. I really want that shirt for tomorrow. And so that is the things that I show or teach mostly are quick, easy, fast projects.
Yeah.
And I like something that is instant gratification. And I learned a long time ago that when you're teaching someone how to sew, just like the story I shared a little while ago about Miss Sherry, had she made something the first time instead of having something finished after 4 months, she may have fallen in love with it earlier. But people need to hold something in their hands. They need to sit down, they need to create something, and they need to be able to hold it and look at it and say, I created this. And there's so much self-confidence that comes from that I always tell my students, we don't say, but I messed up here, here, and here. Because if you don't tell them, they don't know.
Yeah. And, I love that you have this real longing to teach the beginner. But on top of that, though, you have these advanced quilters who come for the community as well. So that's a really clear part of your story, because people are relating to you and they're like, this is a real person who's going to tell me the truth. They trust you, right? So you are teaching on YouTube, you have Instagram, you have 714,000 people on Facebook, you're on TikTok as well. And then also you're posting everything. Where else am I missing?
So it's all the places, everywhere you name, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
My tutorials are all searchable on my website. So if you're looking for a tutorial, you saw it, it doesn't matter where you saw it at.
Okay.
You can go to my website and in the search bar, you can type whatever you're looking for and it will come up with the tutorials for it, which is very, very helpful to people.
Do you remember what was your first viral thing or something?
Yes. And I almost didn't do it.
Oh, really?
Because I thought, yes. So sometimes you make a project that takes far too much effort for what it is. And this was one of those projects. I made a hanging towel, an oven towel that had a loop. Okay. Yeah. So the oven towel opened up, went over the back of the oven and came down through the loop. And I thought, that is far too much effort for an oven towel. Who's actually using that? Okay. Well, it started out 1 million views later. I was like, I almost didn't do it. Literally almost didn't do it. I was making a bunch of projects for Missouri Star Quilt Company and they had sent me a fat quarter bundle and I was down to my last few pieces and waste not, want not, I'm definitely not a waster. And I had to make or in my mind, I had to make something with it. And I was like, I guess I'll do this hand towel. And then here we are.
Yeah. And so how do you realize that something's really working? Is it just about the numbers or is it about the engagement? How do you decide, okay, I'm going to have to do more of that because they're loving that?
So the engagement, I don't care what the view numbers are. I do follow the engagement because I feel like if somebody takes the time to say your children are beautiful, I want to say thank you. Now, understand, I'm only one person and I comment just as much as I possibly can. But I do read the comments. I read them. And it's less about the numbers or the engagement for the content. It's more about what people request, kind of like the flamingos. It's people wanted this porch goose clothing. And I was like, well, we got to dress something. And I think the flamingo's body shape potentially can be similar to a goose, but we shall see. And so they wanted it. So we're going to make it because I do try to listen to my audience, the things that they request, and put that in front of them because I ask for their request. I want to know. And well, I was going to say I need ideas, but that's not true. That's one thing I don't have a shortage of.
There's lots of ideas. Yeah.
Ideas. Time. Yes. Ideas. No.
Well, you can tell. I mean, when you're doing stuff, you can tell what's really working for you, right? And I think actually, if I were to say what's really working for you, it's just that you're being you. You're doing what you love. You have endless ideas and you're just putting yourself out there in a real way. So do you find there's a big difference? You're posting kind of the same thing everywhere, right? So do you find there's a big difference between platforms?
Not really. So all the platforms like different stuff, but in so many ways, I'm still new to this, and I only film my content, whatever this is.
Vertical, yeah.
Horizontally.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I only film my content one way. And so, on YouTube, it shows up this way instead of laying down we're all used to watching YouTube. But I can only do what I can do. And so the big baby, 23-year-old, works for me full time. And so he did all of this research and all of this, put all this effort into like filming equipment and a couple of cameras and maybe like coming from the ceiling down. But I don't think it has to be that complicated. I just don't think it has to be complicated. And I don't want it to be complicated. I want to keep it simple and easy and real. I want it to be easy for me, easy for my viewers to watch. My filming setup is pretty snazzy. I have a plastic shower mirror hanging on the window so that when my phone is facing me, when I lean to the side, it's so that I can see in this mirror what my phone is actually looking at. And so hilarious. True story, though. But it's easy and it works. And I just like it. And I'm not saying that I won't do something different someday, but not for a long time. And, we all are learning in so many ways. I mean, there's so many things that I'm learning. Yeah. And like the captions, I've learned to move the captions because when the captions are on the bottom of the screen and I'm working on the bottom of the screen and you can't see what I'm doing because the words are on top of it, it's totally legit. And I'm very interested in the constructive feedback, even if it's not overly positive, because I don't know what I don't know. And I went to Missouri Star Academy last June. It was my first big outing. It was the first time anybody had recognized me. It was the craziest experience. And because I didn't know, I didn't know I was a thing. Like I saw the views and whatever, but I didn't know. And so I show up to Missouri Star and these people like have made me shirts and they want me to sign all the things. And I'm like, this few days. So we come home and Missouri Star's giving all the instructors this like swag bag. And in this swag bag is a half hexagon template. So when you make quilts, most often you're picking a pattern, you're picking fabric that you think will suit someone else. And so my house is full of quilts, but I don't own any. One, I think. And the one that I have, my Tuesday ladies and I made a friendship quilt and we all traded blocks. So fun. But so I was going to make this hexagon quilt for myself. And so I made this quilt and I did this tutorial and the entire internet yelled at me. Because evidently the backing comes off of a template and I didn't know that. And I feel like that's something I should know, but I didn't know, like literally did not know. And I was like, okay, y'all are geniuses. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so let's talk a little more about retreats because you've done Missouri Star, some really fun things there, and you do your own retreats as well. So just tell us all about it.
Oh my goodness, Brandy. Okay. So you have to schedule one and you have to come. And this is what you need to think of it as, like a fun girls weekend and a cross between a fun girls weekend and grown up summer camp, right? So we, everything's included. It's all private rooms. The lodging is included. The meals are included. Your sewing machines are provided for you, all of your sewing tools and your projects. So literally you put your PJs in your purse, you board a flight and you come hang out with me for a fun few days. Yeah. And there's a couple of themed days. Like one day it's pajamas and pearls where we just sew in our jammies. That's what the little ladies call them all day. And then one day we go to the local thrift store and you have $20 in 20 minutes and you have to be in line in 20 minutes and you cannot spend more than $20. And the conversations are hilarious. Like, what are you making? Well, I wanted to make this, but I can't afford it. And then the ladies buy their items from the thrift store and then they upcycle them and have a fashion show.
Fun.
It is so fun. It's so fun. And to watch these ladies and these lifelong friendships formed in in just the few that I've had this year, I had 2 retired air traffic controllers, the director of nursing for Philadelphia Children's Hospital, a CIA operative. Wait, I don't even know if I'm supposed to know that.
Yeah. Oh, that was so fun.
Super fun stuff. And so the community is great. The fellowship is great. The ladies are amazing. And most of them, and I say most of them, probably all of them, I don't deserve to stand next to. Their skills are incredible. And so my retreats are all beginner friendly. You can never have sat in front of a sewing machine and you come, I'm meeting you where you are. So Sweet Glennie at Missouri Star Quilt Company, I'm pretty sure I gave her a coronary. She called me and she said, okay, so what are we doing at your retreat? And I said, we're going to do some rag projects. And she said, well, people are asking if we're doing 10-inch squares or 5-inch squares. The list of materials says they need 3 layer cakes. Do we cut that or not cut that? And I said, Lenny, that's what we're going to do. We're going to meet them where they are. If they are brand new sewers, we're going to make our rag project out of 10-inch squares. If they are advanced sewers, then we're going to chop it down and make it out of 5-inch squares. We're going to make pinwheel rag quilts. We're going to do whatever they're comfortable with. And she said, okay. So I got there, and it was so far from what they normally do because it's not a wing it kind of atmosphere, right? Yeah. And I got there and I said, are you okay, Glennie? And she said, Tami, you walked into the retreat, and I spoke to Glennie. I bypassed her, and I climbed up and sat on a table and visited with these ladies for hours. When I turned around, Glennie was gone. She had gone home. It was like 8:00 at night. And so the next morning she said, when you sat down on that table, I knew it was all going to be okay. And she said, this has been the most fun. And it was incredible. It was so good. The retreat staff at Missouri Star Quilt Company is amazing, like really amazing. They do such a good job of all the things, of the accommodations, of the food, of the atmosphere. They have, obviously, you're here in a town with 100 million bolts of fabric. I got to go and tour the long arm department where they quilt all of the quilts. And I thought that you ordered a yard of fabric on the internet and they cut it in the stores and shipped it to you. No. There's aisles and aisles and aisles and aisles of bolts of fabric in the warehouse. I mean, crazy. It is so impressive.
Yeah, I saw a video recently on all your channels. I guess maybe I was surfing on the Instagram feed, and it was all about their quilting process. And they brought there was like hundreds of quilts lined up on racks ready to go. And she said within 3 weeks, they'll all be done. I was astonished. Yes. Like, that was amazing. It's incredible. So that's just the finishing of the quilts.
Yes.
So, yeah, they got quite a big operation going on around there. So tell us a little bit about your retreats that you do as well.
So Missouri Stars was a mini retreat. So we just did one project. They provided their own fabric. Mine will be all inclusive, and they're all here in my hometown. And so Nana Ann, if you follow me, you are familiar, is not any blood relation to me. She's not related to me at all. She and her husband, very good friends with my in-laws. So when I married Timothy, I inherited her. And I tell him all the time I only married him because she was part of the deal. And she started taking care of me, and I'm a smart lady, so I let her. And her daughter runs this event venue, but it's a huge wedding venue is what it is, and where we'll be having our retreats. And so I'm super excited. One of the things that we'll get to do is travel. This about the retreat. The venue is about 30 minutes away. So we will take one afternoon. We'll come to my shop and have lunch. So the ladies will get to see where I film and where I teach. They'll get to meet my husband, the little ladies, Papa, Nana Ann. It's going to be the best time. I'm super excited.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And you don't just do this once a year, right? You have a few coming up, right?
I have a few coming up. I think I have 11. Maybe. I mean, it's a lot. I've already done a few, and I don't really know how many I have left, but there are just a couple that have spots left in them. Lots of them are already sold out. And I am hugely honored that anyone, people can tell you all the things, but when they trade their dollars for something, that is a whole different level of compliment.
Yeah. Now, you told me a story about how you did a lecture at Missouri Star's birthday bash. So how did that go? And what did you talk about?
I talked about all the things. I told all the funny stories, and I talked about the little ladies and how I got here. I talked about my grandmother teaching me how to sew, and my journey into this accidental celebrity space. I didn't know that was the thing until somebody told me. And it was incredible. It was super incredible. And then I got to meet so many fantastic people. Yeah. The people that I've met along the way have made more of an impact on me than they will ever know.
Yeah. What was it like stepping on the stage with hundreds of people in the audience for the first time?
So what is so bizarre, and I'm not really sure why this is the case, but I left MSA, and Missouri Star immediately said, we want you to come back. We want you to do a theater event. And I said, okay, but the theater holds 300 people in Hamilton, Missouri. And if you've never been to Hamilton, Missouri, it's an itty bitty town about an hour outside of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Now they have the reason that people knew me when I was there in June is because they were having this Missouri Star Academy. So there was a lot of instructors there, and people had traveled from all over the country to take a whole bunch of different classes, right? And so the idea of going there and having a theater to fill with 300 seats was more than my little brain could comprehend, right? And I was thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I never was nervous about the show itself, which is probably a testament to how ridiculous it all was in my mind. But the tickets started to sell and then sell and then sell and then sell. And on a rainy Thursday morning at 8:30, the theater filled up with people. And they lined up down the aisle. I was sitting on the front of the stage with my feet down. And because I was just visiting with a few people, it was, I don't know, 20 minutes before the show or 30 minutes before the show. And then people they just kept coming and coming. But they lined up down the aisle. They had brought gifts for me.
Oh my gosh.
And it was crazy. And this sweet lady walked up and she said, I'd had a meet and greet the day before. And this sweet lady walks down the aisle and she said, it never occurred to me to bring you a gift. So I made this in my hotel room last night. And she had crocheted one of those scrub buddy things. It's the rough yarn it's like a scrubber.
Yeah.
And I said, you did not have to bring me anything, nothing. Your presence here is enough. But I mean, I was taken aback that she had thought that she needed to do that. So she went back to her hotel room and did that. I mean, it was just the kindest, most generous gesture. And so I was not nervous, and all these people were coming in and everybody was so kind. And thankfully, the community that we are together is very gracious, and they have offered me much grace, and they have been very encouraging to me. So I felt confident that the people in the audience were my people, which made it was a very friendly crowd. And so the people were lined up and they came and got me and said, the show's about to start. You have to get up. And like, I don't, how do you get away from, how do you just get up in front of somebody? They lined up and I said, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. I promise I'm going to meet all of y'all after the show, but they're telling me I have to go. So I get up and I go to the back, and BJ, who is Misty, that does the tutorials for Missouri Star, BJ is her dad. And he's the one who runs the theater, and he's hilarious. And he's got this huge personality. And so he goes out on stage in this silver sequin jacket to introduce me. And I'm standing behind these, it was Western themed. So they had these like doors, I'm standing behind the doors. And for the, 90 seconds I was standing back there, that's when I started to get nervous. Like it was all, before that, I had not had enough time to process it, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, but when I stepped on the stage, it was fine. They were incredible. They were so incredible. And I'm so grateful to every single one of them. But they'll never know. I say it over and over and over, but I truly know what they have done for me.
Yeah. You can just feel the warmth from the audience, right? They're there to see you,
yes.
And that's all that matters. Love it.
Yes.
Okay. So in your creative practice, what brings you joy?
Everything. I just like to create. I don't even really care what it is. I was Googling earlier how to create a pom-pom from fabric scraps because I have all of these tiny pieces from my new collection that a jar just doesn't do them justice.
Yeah.
So potentially I'll be making a pom-pom this afternoon. But I just like to make all the things. I just like to create. I like color. I want something bright and fun and pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. And something kind of recurring in this whole conversation we've been having is this overwhelming feeling of, I get to do this. Right. So I can feel that coming from your bones, that you really appreciate it.
Who gets to do this? Who gets to live this life? Who gets to wake up every day? You know, they say if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, but who actually gets to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's all fine and great in theory, but like it's my real life. And so then I think, how is this my real life? How is this my real life? I don't deserve all of this. It is incredible. And I am not, for one single second, I do not want to take it for granted. I want to enjoy it. I want to relish in it. I want to meet the people. I want for my children to see the kindness that's in the world. And, so many times we don't see the kindness, we see the bad things. And there's so much kindness out there. And it is so refreshing to me to look at any comment on any post on any of my Facebook, Instagram, and all of the comments are so kind. And when somebody says, I don't understand why, insert question here, the people flood in. Well, they do blah, blah, blah. Then, they are so helpful to each other. They're so encouraging to each other. If somebody doesn't understand something I said, they will say, I missed what kind of board you used for storing your fabric. And then the people are in the comments. It is an incredible, helpful community. And they have taught me so much. My sewing skills are so much better today than they were a year and a half ago because I'm sewing something every single day. Not that I wasn't sewing before, but not what I'm sewing now. And because the audience is asking for things, then they push me out of my comfort zone because I have a desire to show them what they want to see, like the goose clothing. And they're pushing me out of my comfort zone, which then increases my sewing skills. And I'm thankful for that too.
Yeah, it is really refreshing to see and so much joy. Okay, so right now we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about Tami's studio, some more projects, of course, and what's coming soon. We'll be right back. Hey, quilters, it's Brandy from Quilter on Fire. I have a confession. I had no idea what I was missing when it came to bed sheets. I've always just bought sheets with the highest thread count for the cheapest price. They never fit the bed properly and they slipped off the corners, so I'd wake up in a twisted mess. Enter Cozy Earth. They sent me their luxurious bamboo sheet set, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. Not only do they fit my bed properly with deep corners that tuck way under the mattress, but these sheets feel like sleeping on a cloud. They're made from viscose from bamboo, which means they're soft and temperature regulating. Cozy Earth sheets are so breathable, you'll sleep several degrees cooler. Another plus, they have a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. You can't go wrong. When I say these are the softest sheets I've ever slept on, I mean it. Switching to Cozy Earth isn't just about getting sheets that fit your mattress. It's about comfort and quality sleep. And when you sleep better, you quilt better. Visit CozyEarth.com and use my exclusive 20% off code FIRE20. A better day starts with better sleep. Wrap yourself in Cozy Earth. And we are back with Tami Jones of Hometown Quilt Company. Tami, can you tell us about your studio? Where do you create and film everything?
So it's actually in the house that we lived in before the little ladies came along. And it's about 1,100 square feet. And it's a little bit small for a ginormous family. So when I was pregnant with the little ladies, Timothy said, we have to build a house. And I said, we're going to have 2 newborn babies. And he said, we have to build a house, Tami. And we built a house, or he built a house. I was busy taking care of little people. They poured the slab when the little ladies were about 4 months old, and we moved in about a month, maybe 2 weeks before their first birthday. Wow. And so previous to being here, there is a detached garage, and there's a building out there, and that's where I was. So when we moved to the new house, I moved into here. And so it's just comfortable, and it is homey, and I'll be here forever and ever and ever, I think.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful place to take your retreaters to, so they get a glimpse of your day-to-day. Oh, that's so great. Okay, speaking of day-to-day, what's your favorite time of day?
I'm an early riser. I was up at 3:30 this morning. Oh, now, my students always say they can text me at 9 o'clock at night and I will respond at 4 a.m. because I'm long asleep by 9 p.m. But I'm an early riser, so the mornings are very productive for me.
Yeah. And what's the best thing you do for your own self-care?
Create, to be honest. Yeah. To just create. And if I get sassy, my husband says you need to go sew something.
That's so good. He knows you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of making something, we want to talk about some of the fun projects you've done online. We've already touched on your most meaningful quilt project, number 1. But tell us about some of your quilts, like the quilt coat. Tell us about that one.
Oh, that was wild, right? So quilt coats are a whole thing. And I wanted a quilt coat like everybody else wanted a quilt coat, but I couldn't find a quilt. I didn't have one to cut up. And I thought, you know, let's see if we buy a quilt from Amazon, if it'll work. I wasn't even sure that I could make it work. So I ordered a $30 quilt from Amazon and I cut it up and made the first one without a pattern. And you could tell I didn't have a pattern. The sleeves were too short and the hood would have fit me, you, and all of your family in it. It was interesting. And I remade it. And when I remade it, I told my followers to get a pattern. I don't care what pattern it is. Look at the style of it. And if you like it, they should all generally be made the same. And we're not reading the instructions anyway. And so I got a pattern. I cut out the coat pieces and I cut it out from a quilt that came from Amazon for $30. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And now I have made lots and lots of them. And you can get great quilts at like TJ Maxx or Home Goods or Marshalls. You can get great name brand quilts. The ones from Amazon are great also. Then when I made the coat, I had all these leftover pieces. So I made all the projects, makeup bags and a duffel bag, and they were all so easy because there wasn't any lining or finishing. It was the raw edge is all the rage right now. Like it's super in and everybody's loving it. And so all of the things are raw edge, but you could go back and add bias tape or binding or something later if that fad goes away and you don't want to keep it like that. So making it now and finishing it later, or finishing it now if that's what you want to do, depends on what you like. But that was hugely popular and a lot of fun to do. And I'm still creating the things from the quilt coats.
Yeah.
From the quilts.
Yeah. So do you make so when you're creating for online, do you just start making and showing everything and not worry about whether it's going to be a fail or a win, or you just go for it anyway?
Yeah, I do. And sometimes I made a sling, whatever that is, like a fanny pack that's a crossbody.
Yeah.
And I made it with my new fabric line, and I muddled my way through a pattern. And at one point in the pattern, it's in the video, and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm doing. This is so complicated. Wait, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, this is what we're going to do, because I was muddling my way through. But I think that's real life. And I think that my grandmother couldn't read a pattern.
Yeah.
And so she didn't teach me how to read a pattern. She taught me how to follow the photos, and I knew enough of the vocabulary to be able to connect the dots. But as far as the vocabulary that's in a pattern is different than the way my brain works, I guess.
Yeah.
And so when it says put right sides to right sides, rectangles together, I have to stop and think about what that means. Instead of two rectangles, pretty side to pretty side, you're going to sew down this side. And so I think there are lots of people out there muddling their way through patterns like I am. And it's not all bad, because we're making all of the things that we would not have known how to make without the ability to muddle our way through.
Yeah. So fun. And when you were working together with Missouri Star and a bunch of things, you had to make some projects for them. So tell us about that. What kind of things did you make?
Oh, they let me pick whatever I want. They are so good to me. Not only do I adore the company, but I adore the people. They're just genuinely kind people. They're just kind. And they come to me and say, for instance, this Journey of a Quilt series. Yeah. March was National Quilting Month. And I said, I want to do a Journey of a Quilt series. I'm coming up there the end of March for a retreat. So how about if I film choosing the fabric, cutting the fabric out, sewing the quilt top, shipping it off to Missouri. And then when I get there, picking it up and they said, that's incredible, Tami. And so they encourage me to be me. And they don't push me into some box that I don't fit in, because it would be hard to work with a company who only wanted me to use patterns to create something, or who wanted me to hand embroider when I don't love to hand sew, but they just let me be me. And so it's a precious family that owns it, and a brother and sister, Al and Sarah. And Sarah came to the retreat when I was there, and we got ready to leave, and she said, I got you something. And I said, what'd you get me? She said, okay, well, full disclosure, my kids are making fun of me, but I know you're going to love it. So she pulls out of her purse this bedazzled seam ripper that she has sat at her kitchen table putting these jewels on. And she said, The rude thing about this is that I now realize I definitely need stronger reading glasses. Could not have picked a better gift for me. It's almost like she watches me sew.
That's pretty sweet. Okay,
Yes.
so when we were getting ready for this podcast, I have a meeting with you and we have a nice chat and everything. And one thing you said was really important to you was you wanted to talk about quilts with the little ladies fabric. What's the little ladies fabric? Tell me all about that.
Oh my goodness. So I have a set of twins, 4-year-old little girls, and I call them my little ladies. And that's just how I refer to them, the little ladies. And so I was approached by a fabric company, the Precious Company, Andover. And they said, Tammy, we'd like to create a fabric collection for you. And I said, well, you know what? I have the perfect inspiration. So it is bright and colorful. It's ladybug themed because I call my little ladies my ladybugs. And the name of the collection is Little Ladies. And the little ladies and I hand drew, which was a lot of effort because I'm really not a great drawer. It was months and months of work that went into it. These ladybugs and hearts that my little ladies then colored in with an Apple pencil on a iPad on some digital software, but we drew it, we colored it in, and they look at it and they are so proud of what they have been a part of. And I'm so thrilled to be able to teach them to sew one day with that fabric.
Yeah. So what kind of projects have you made with it so far?
Oh, all the things,
Oh.
all the things. I've made 10, 15 quilts, 15.
Wow.
And I made my little sling bag. I've made a couple of outfits for them. I want to we actually had a photo shoot scheduled for this morning that was rained out. And so it'll be in the next week or so, I hope. But of them in their little ladies outfits on all their little ladies quilts. And I don't care what they're doing. They can play Ring Around the Rosie. They can curl up in them, lay down in them, run through them, whatever. I just want them to be little girls, but I definitely want to capture this.
Oh, how sweet. And how did it feel when you had the first line in your hands, like the fabric showed up on your doorstep? Did you do an unveiling?
Yes. That's my
you did.
name on the selvage. It says my name on the selvage.
Oh my gosh.
That is the most surreal, super surreal moment. I did not. So my good friend said, did you know to dream this big? And I said, no, I didn't. I did not know. If I had listed all of the things that I hoped or wished, bar none, the sky's the limit, all the things I would like to accomplish in my life, this wouldn't have made the list. Like it would have never occurred to me to ask for this amazing dream.
Oh, how
But
sweet.
I'm living my dream every day.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I want to talk a little bit about an event coming up. Even though this airs just after H&H, you will have just been at H&H to sort of feature this fabric. So what's happening at H&H?
Well, I'm pretty excited about H&H. Now, the fabric debut will be there. And the photo shoot I was just talking about is because I think in my mind, and this might change between now and then because, when you go to sleep and wake up, the idea is different. Yeah. But I would like the whole side of the booth photo to be of the little ladies in their outfits with the quilts and the little ladies, all of the projects there. I'm super excited about that. And the trade show is the second part of the week, but the first part of the week is the consumer show. And I'm more excited about the consumer show than I am even debuting my own fabric. And debuting my own fabric is huge. It's huge. It is a huge honor. But the consumer show, the beginning of it, I get to meet you. I get to meet all of the people that made all this possible. Without the people that are there, I don't get to show fabric the end of the week. And I am so excited to meet all of the people. I'm super, super excited. And I have a project, I don't know what it's called, a learning lab where I'm teaching something. And then I have some kind of project academy where I'm talking about something while I'm at H&H too. I'm super excited. So Regina's coming the first part, and then she and Timothy are trading out. She's coming home and he's coming up. He's staying home with the little ladies, and he's coming for the fabric part of the trade show. He'll be there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then cross your fingers, Nana Ann is doing amazing, and she will be with me the whole way.
Yeah, we all hope that she's doing really well. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, what is F&F? What is H&H? So F&F is Fiber and Fabric Craft Festival. It's May 1st to 3rd in Chicago. It's actually in Rosemont, Illinois, which is near Chicago. And it's at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. So that's the first part, which is a consumer show. And the second part is H&H Americas, which is May 6th to 8th. So there's a day or so in between, and that's at the same location, and that's kind of a market. So if you're in the business of quilting or in the business of anything craft-like, that's a great show to go to. So that'll be exciting to release your fabric there, and you'll be able to meet all the people. I'm excited to see you in the Oliso booth because I know you'll come visit us there. So Tami, what is on your design wall right now?
Oh, right now I have all little ladies fabric. It's everywhere. I spent all day yesterday cutting out and cutting out and cutting out because I have just sample yardage. That's all I have is sample yardage, but I'm determined, Brandy, to use every single piece of it. There will not be a piece that's not sewn into something or made into a pom-pom like we talked about earlier. So that's what's on my design wall currently.
So if people are listening right now and they're like, I want to buy this fabric, can they get it on your website in kits or something like that?
So there'll be kits on my website. The fabric doesn't come out until July, but reach out to your local quilt shop and tell them if they don't have it, you'd love for them to carry it. Or if they do carry it, then purchase it from them. Not that I don't want your business, because I do. I am very grateful for every dollar, but small business is hard. And if you have a quilt shop that you love, that you shop at, that's where I want your dollars to go first. And then beyond that, your favorite online retailer. And obviously the kits that I have, I'll have some quilt kits cut that'll be ready to go too.
Oh, that's very sweet. Okay, so now it's time for the lightning round robin. It's a series of rapid fire questions and it's super fun. Are you ready?
I think so.
What's your favorite tool or notion?
Seam ripper.
Okay, and what triggers inspiration for you?
Everything.
Everything
Color.
you look at? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, how many UFOs do you have going on at once in your studio?
That is rude. Some things we don't talk about, Brandy. Didn't your mother teach you?
That's worse than how old are you? Okay. And do you have any kind of annual creative escape?
Well, the ladies coming to these retreats have become a creative escape for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Do you have any kind of personal reward system for getting things done?
Yes. When I do all the things I don't want to do, then I reward myself by making something that's fun that I want to make.
And I kind of feel like with that photo system you have on your phone, it's a reward for you to have your phone empty of photos, right?
Yes.
I keep thinking about that because I got 27,000 photos on my phone. I got to change something. Okay. What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
Oh, my children. The 23-year-old works with me full time every day, and it is my best life. And my little ladies, I told my husband yesterday that we are in the very best years. He better soak it up because they are independent enough to be independent. They can go to the potty by themselves. They can tell you what they're hungry and they don't feel good, but they are loving and they want to be held and rocked and all the things that go by way too fast.
Yeah, that's a really good reason to get out of bed. Okay. And what is a skill you'd love to learn?
I struggle with less is more. I would like to learn how to do less is less.
Less is less. Do less better. Well, you're doing more in a great way. So.
I mean, I do struggle with less is more. And so, like, if a little's good, then a lot is better, right?
Yeah, true. Okay, has there been a mentor who's really influenced you along the way?
My grandmother. My grandmother had a huge impact on me sewing, and she was undoubtedly the smartest person I've ever known. And she had an 8th grade education, but the way that she problem solved, and I'm pretty sure that's why I'm so good at what I do, or that I'm so good at making the projects that I make, is because, I mean, if a problem can happen, I've created it. And so being able to problem solve, being able to figure out, well, what am I going to do now? You know, like that time I just all of a sudden really liked the backside of that fabric and I turned it right side out. And so her teaching me the fixing what I had inevitably messed up was hugely valuable.
Oh, that personal accountability, right? Yeah. Okay, so do you have any favorite collections of any kind in your home?
So I'm currently fascinated with the tiny sewing machines, like the itty bitty, like jewelry box, kind of shiny. I know, isn't she pretty?
Yeah.
And so, but no, other than that, oh, yes, I do need to mention this. So, my mother in law, who died in 2009, collected thimbles of all things in the whole entire planet. So, the thimbles have been passed down to my little ladies, the only two granddaughters. And how fitting is it that they have this incredible thimble collection? And so, we have carried on the tradition. So now they get thimbles, which is super fun too.
What a joy I can just imagine them having hours of fun playing with those. Okay, and what is your proudest accomplishment?
My children.
Yeah.
My children, for sure. For sure, for sure. They make me proud every day. The 23-year-old is the best of the best. He is as good as it comes, and my heart beats for that child. And to watch him with the little ladies. Now, understand they never lived together. I mean, he moved out to go to college when they were born, and they think he hung the moon. He thinks they hung the moon. It is to watch them together makes Mama very proud.
Aw. Well, that was really fun. Thank you for braving the lightning round, Robin. Now, we've mentioned your website a few times, hometownquiltcompany.com, where we can find all the wonderful things. But where's the best place to connect with you on social media?
Anywhere you are. I'm going to meet you where you are. I'm going to meet you on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook. And I can't wait to see you.
Yeah. So fun. And you will find on all the places, if you search Tami Jones, Hometown Quilt Company, you will find her everywhere. And there's a whole lot of fun happening on all of those channels. So now as we wrap up, Tami, what do you want people to take away most from our conversation today?
That I'm your favorite sewing teacher.
So good, because Grandma said so.
That's right. If I can do it, you can do it. And that's a promise.
Yeah. Oh, Tami, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me, Brandy. You are a doll, and I'm so glad I got to meet you in QuiltCon, and I cannot wait to see you at H&H.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you again. So that was my show with Tami Jones. I loved this conversation. There's something so comforting about a creator who reminds us that quilting isn't about getting every single thing perfect. It's about showing up, trying your best, and laughing at ourselves along the way. What really stands out about Tami Jones is how she lives out loud for all of us to see, with family, sewing, humor, and all the good and not so good bits of her true story. She takes those little frustrating moments we all have when we're trying something new, and she turns them into something shared. Community. And that's powerful. It makes the whole creative process feel lighter and more achievable. And staying true to herself with such a massive following and the fame of all of this is truly remarkable. She is clear in her focus that you don't have to be perfect to be a maker. You just have to keep going and enjoy it. You can check out the upcoming dates for Tami's Southern Social Retreats for 2026 at hometownquiltcompany.com, where you can spend a few glorious days with Tami Jones and her hometown team for some quilty bliss among friends. And today, I loved sharing the story of Tami Jones and the Hometown Quilt Company with you. Quilter on Fire is now on YouTube, and it's packed with brand new weekly content. What's waiting for you? Fun and easy tutorials to follow, exciting unboxings, exclusive interviews with top quilters and artists at the biggest quilt shows like Houston and QuiltCon. If you love Quilter on Fire on the podcast, you're going to be blown away by our YouTube channel. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Quilter on Fire on YouTube today. Let's ignite your passion for quilting. Thank you for listening to the Quilter on Fire podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. Your support helps me reach more quilters just like you, striving for that perfect quilty lifestyle. Click on those 5 stars and share what you loved most about today's episode. Don't forget to hit the follow button if you haven't already. With new episodes dropping weekly, you won't want to miss out on the inspiring stories and tips we have in store. Until next time, dream big and have fun in the studio with the Quilter on Fire.